Welcome to Paranormal Yacker. You are invited to join me, your host, Stan Mallow, each week when I interview a different guest of note in their respective field. The unexplained, the mysterious, the macabre, UFOs, ghosts, Bigfoot, psychic phenomena. We explore them all on Paranormal Yacker. Hi, everyone. I'm Stan Mallow, the Paranormal Yacker. My guest in today's show is Colleen Vanderzyden, a certified intuitive life coach, spiritual teacher, and registered medium at Lilydale Assembly, the world's largest spiritualist community. She also hosts the Lilydale radio show, Embracing Your Essence. Love that title. I'll be talking with Colleen, who, in addition to all her other accomplishments, is a professional violinist, about her book, Courageously You, Magical Mind Games to Get Unstuck and Reignite Your Joy. Colleen Vanderzyden, welcome to Paranormal Yacker.
Thank you so much, Stan. It's so wonderful to be here with you.
You, Colleen, have been communicating with spirits for many years. Do you recall the first time it happened, how it came about, the circumstances surrounding it, and your reaction to that event?
I don't know if I can remember a specific thing, but I might surprise you in that I am probably one of the few mediums that did not see spirit as a child or feel spirit as a child. I was actually well into adulthood when I got involved in mediumship. I was very curious about abnormal, is that a word? Things, things that were just very different and, dowsing and metaphysics and that kind of thing, but never really had a desire to be a medium. So it is wild because I could tell you the first time spirit told me I was going to be a medium. I was sitting in the back of church here in Lilydale, and I got a message in my head that basically said it was time for you to be a medium. And I said, no, I'm not talking to dead people. No, thanks. And they said, yes, you are. And I said, no, I'm not. And we had this, argument back and forth, basically. And then I said, well, if you really want me to do it, you have to bring me the right teachers. And so they did, and they found a couple really good people for me. And I do remember in a workshop with one of those teachers bringing it through some minor little piece of information and going, oh, that made sense. I was so shocked. I couldn't believe it actually, anything happened. Really amazing.
Courageously You shows your readers a shortcut to creating profound shifts toward living the authentic, joyful life they deserve. What, Colleen, have you found causes most people to get themselves stuck in stress and self-judgment and fearing things they shouldn't really be fearful of?
So much of it is our societal programming and conditioning. Society tells us who we should be, how we should live. And when society as a whole does this, we lose track of what we really want and who we really are, because we're always trying to please other people or keep them happy or smooth over conflicts. And so much of this is just ingrained within us, and we don't even know what's going on. We don't know this is what's happened. And so we do lose sight of who we really are. And when we claim that, that's when we can get back into that life of the joy and meaning that we deserve.
When a person finds themselves in the company of judgmental people who are causing them stress and emotional turmoil, how do you suggest they deal with it? And would what they do be different if the person causing them the stress is a family member, say, versus a friend, neighbor, employer, or fellow employee?
Yeah, it's always tricky, isn't it? When it's a family member versus, a casual acquaintance or something, because our family's supposed to treat us in a certain way. My theory and philosophy so far is that the stronger we are in the knowledge of who we are, what we believe to be true, especially about ourselves, the stronger we are within that idea, the easier it becomes to handle other people's judgments. We won't take them on. We might not be triggered by them. When we are triggered by something, it's usually reflecting some kind of self-belief we have along the lines of we're not good enough in some way, So they're reflecting that back to us, and it's giving us an opportunity to heal it and recognize what's happening. But so many of us, when somebody's judgmental, the first thing we do is just react. We get mad, we get angry, So long term, it's figuring out who you are and how you want to live, what you believe to be true about yourself. Short term, I tell a lot of people, if somebody's really mean to you, number one, and they're going to be, prepare yourself, get your energy ready. They're not going to change. And number two, you can walk away. It's okay, because some people feel like they can't. So practical things as well as mind games in our heads.
How, Colleen, would you advise someone who finds themselves themselves in a situation where others are trying to put a guilt trip on them or shame them into doing something they really don't want to do?
Oh, it's amazing how that happens. If we recognize that's what's happening, so hopefully we're aware enough that somebody is trying to shame us and guilt us into doing something. And then if we can check in with ourselves and recognize we don't want to do it. So simply checking in with ourselves and going, I really don't want to do this. This doesn't feel right to me. And so then the next question is, how are we going to respond? Will we walk away? Are we strong enough to do that? Or are we going to fall back into our old habits of people pleasing and conflict avoidance? So once we know we don't want to do something, a practical way is we can simply say, I'm not sure about that. I'll get back to you, because that gives you some stalling technique here. You can stall a little bit to help you really commit to what you're feeling and also allow yourself to come up with another answer, which is basically going to be a no, but how are you going to say it? You know, so a stalling practical technique is wonderful. I always say I have to check my calendar, which is true, but that gives me 24 hours to go, I really, really don't want to do it. And I just had this conversation with a client the other day. I said, why don't you just say, sorry, I have another commitment? And people will go, oh, really? And it's like, yeah, just say you have another commitment. It could be you're going to go sit in your bathtub for an hour or look at yourself in the mirror or go outside for a walk. They don't have to know what the commitment is, you know, so practical that way.
What, Colleen, would you recommend as a first step people do on their path to self-discovery and getting back on track and reclaiming the power of their true self?
The first thing, which is most important, is recognizing that they actually have the power of choice. So many people say, I can't, you know, what would they think? And when they realize that they're always making choices and they can make intentional choices, they can move in a new direction. One of my first magical mind games in the book is called I Choose. And it's where we look at our lives and see how we are making choices. So if I start complaining, I don't like what this person is saying, and I'm going on and on about it, I am choosing to complain and keep myself stuck in that energy. You know, if I don't eat something well, that's good for me, healthy, and then I'm getting fat, I am choosing to eat that. So I am choosing to get fat. And when people start to recognize this, it can be mind-blowing for people that they really do have a power of choice.
Courageously You is filled with powerful, magical mind games to help your readers confidently navigate life's unpleasant twists and turns. You just mentioned one of them. Can you, Colleen, perhaps share one or two more of those mind games?
Yes. And the reason I call them magical mind games, because you know you have mind games when people say, oh, they're playing mind games with me, and it's a bad thing. But magical mind games is intentionally using your power to reframe situations. So I love the title. It's kind of fun, magical mind games, right? One of my favorite ones is What If? I call it What If. And frequently do, oh, what if this happens? And we do the negative version of it. I go for the positive version of it. So for example, I tell the story in my book about the walking into one of my houses here when I had a little house here in Lilydale. We walked in, opened the door, and water is pouring from the ceiling, just pouring from the ceiling. And I'm going, oh no, we obviously had a broken pipe. As time went on, and not much time because I like playing with my magical mind games, I'm like, what if we waited another week before we came to the house? This was during the winter. I only checked on it once a week. And what if the water had been pouring for a whole week, the damage that would have been done? What if in the course of the water coming down, the ceiling collapsed and everything was all over the floor? So what if I hadn't had that happen? I wouldn't have noticed that there was an extension cord above the ceiling in the insulation and it's plugged into something. I don't even know what. And it wasn't plugged in all the way. What if that was a live line and the house caught on fire? So things like this, where something bad happens, you come across a car accident and you're stuck behind them, you know, for 4 hours. What if you were there right when that accident happened and you were in the accident? It helps us kind of reframe some of the bad things that happen in life and recognize it could be worse. And it helps us kind of diffuse some of the emotional stress that comes along with stuff. So I love the what if game. It helps me really relax and get out of my head.
You, Colleen, do platform mediumship and give workshop on it as well. How does platform mediumship differ from other types of mediumship?
Okay, interesting you talk about that. I was just working on that workshop. Platform mediumship mediumship is when we stand up in front of a large group of people. The mediums stand up in front of a large group of people and give messages to certain individuals in the audience. It's a very interesting process as a medium because sometimes we go directly to a person and say, I have your uncle here. He was, on the older side when he passes, and I know he had lung cancer, and we go directly to someone that way. Another way we might do it is bring in the spirit first and say, I have a man here. He had ALS, whatever it might be, who in the audience can take it. So it is an interesting process to do. And they're very short messages, usually 3-4 minutes at most, get through the big pieces of evidence and get a message through. So it's just a little bit of a different way of bringing spirit through and reaching more people.
Before proceeding with a reading for a client, do you, Colleen, engage in any kind of ritual such as saying a prayer, asking a spirit guide for guidance, recite a special mantra or meditation, or do some sort of cleansing such as smudging or burning incense of the space where you'll be doing the reading?
I actually do. It's not really necessary in order to connect with spirit, but for me, my belief is it's necessary for me to do these things to get myself in the right headspace and I get out of my way. So I have these great sage sprays. I spray that in my room. I just love this stuff. It smells good. I sit down, I do a meditation, just calming myself down, basically, connecting to the universe, the divine energy. And then I usually have a conversation going, okay, spirit, I need these things. Do it quickly and keep me with you. Don't let me wander away. So I do something like that just to get myself in the mindset.
I was just curious to know, like when you do group readings or platform mediumship, etc., how do you black out, say, people who might be negative out there or thinking things? Because you're up there and you're a very sensitive person picking up on different things. Is there anything you do to black them out, or you try your best to avoid people whose energies might not be that good, might be negative?
What I want to do is instead be as clear and connected as possible to spirit. So if I walk up to the front of a group of people, my focus is on spirit and I will go wherever spirit leads me. And sometimes we do get some people who definitely are not open. And fortunately, it doesn't happen a lot for me. But in that case, I'll give them the message. And if they're giving me, well, I don't get it at all, that kind of thing, I'll just wrap it up as fast as I can and get out.
Should viewers of Paranormal Yacker want to buy your book, Courageously You, Magical Mind Games to Get Unstuck and Reignite Your Joy, and learn about the various services you offer, how can they do that?
I have my website, of course, ColleenVanderzyden.com or BeCourageouslyYou.com, goes to the same place. You can find out all sorts of things about everything I'm doing, workshops, groups I lead, anything like that there. I do have a page there, of course, about my book with a link, and my book is available on Amazon and all sorts of other places.
Colleen Vanderzyden, I thank you for being my guest on Paranormal Yacker. I very much enjoyed yakking with you, and I wish you continued success with all that you do.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure to be here with you today.
Hi, everyone. This is Stan Mallow, the Paranormal Yacker. I hope you enjoyed the interview you just watched. To be sure you're amongst the first to receive new interviews when they're released and to have access to previous ones, subscribe to my free YouTube channel. To do that, all you have to do is press the subscribe button on your screen.